First light in Shanghai, near dawn. This is the way it began, near the dawn of history. Boats heavy with cargo, seeking a safe port and a steady customer. First morning, when the light was good, we could see them, and they could see us. A crowd of 2,000 curious Chinese and we, suddenly realizing that the cultural barriers we have been trying to penetrate for 400 years still stand. You might think that once a revolution takes place, a country is transformed. A country, or a city, does not change that easily. The Chinese, after all, operate from traditions that go back 4,000 years. They cannot cast off the past completely, no more than we can. The past and present, the cultural conflicts, the changes, they all come together in Shanghai. What follows are notes and observations on the biggest changes that have ever happened to so many people in so short a time, in our words and theirs. For anyone old enough to remember, Shanghai looks much the same as it did a quarter of a century ago. A generation has not changed the face of Shanghai as much as it has changed its soul. Shanghai's past reflects the glory not of the Chinese Empire, but of the British Empire. The Chinese would not have built a city this way. The history of modern Shanghai was written in the logs and ledgers of our great-grandfathers, Englishmen, Frenchmen, and Americans. What brought them here was a revolution of their making, the Industrial Revolution. China became part of an expanding world market and Shanghai its marketplace. The noble commodities were tea and silk. The ignoble commodity was opium. Our idea of foreign trade was to sell opium in exchange for the tea and the silk. It was a trade the Chinese neither wanted nor valued. We fought a war called the Opium War to open China to the world in 1842. Shanghai means on the sea. We do not think of China as a maritime country, but Chinese invented the compass, the watertight compartment, the fore and aft sail, and the stern-post rudder. In the 14th century, China was the most technologically advanced country in the world. Proud and complacent, by the 20th century, the Chinese were left far behind the industrialized West. Proud but no longer complacent, the Chinese have been working hard to catch up. Shanghai today has many ancient ways and modern problems, like the traffic jam. The waterway is the city's most heavily used highway. Rivers, more than roads or railroads, crisscross China in every direction, and Shanghai has always been the most important truck stop. Everything moves on the river. There is no energy crisis in Shanghai. Machinery has not yet replaced manpower as the greatest natural resource. Shanghai is building its own trucks and buses and even passenger cars now. But modern transportation has not overtaken the old. They coexist, along with a small fleet of leftover American DeSotos, Fords, and Plymouths, for official use only. If you get run over in the streets, chances are it will be by a bicycle. There are more than 1 million bicycles and bicycle bells. And thousands more attached to carts. China's problem is to move not just Shanghai, but 800 million people from the past to the future. The Chinese can't rush head-on into the 20th century. They have to get there in their own way. Shanghai's primary need was simply to find many people a place to live. Just a generation ago, thousands lived and died in the streets. No one lives in the streets anymore, except to escape the summer heat. There is no escape from the crush of humanity. Today, Chinese are encouraged to postpone marriage at least until age 25, and then to have no more than 2 children. Birth control is now government policy. There are still places here that look and feel centuries old. Where for centuries there was nothing but fields, there is something new, China's first modern suburb. About 1 million people, including several 100,000 young people, have been relocated from the inner city to the suburbs and beyond to the interior. The government is anxious to spread development and industry. It is learning that modernization has its price. That inevitable sign of progress, pollution, is not yet a major problem. But China's planners aren't ignoring it. They can't. There are growing signs of pollution everywhere in Shanghai. For the first time, the city is facing the urban realities that are well known in the West. There were other big city problems that Shanghai inherited from the West and solved. They were declared illegal. One was opium. The opium den was a major commercial enterprise. There were hundreds of them and thousands of addicts. They made millions of dollars for the Shanghai underworld, for foreigner and Chinese alike. Shanghai was a wide-open port where fortunes were won and lost, and where anything was available for a price. There were estimated to be between 10 and 25,000 prostitutes. Shanghai roared too during the 1920s and 30s. The dope, the gambling, the prostitutes, all have vanished from the streets and back alleys of Shanghai. It has been reported that crime too has vanished. You don't read or hear about it much, but there is crime, and prisons for criminals. The only policemen you see, however, are unarmed traffic cops, whose most dangerous assignment appears to be settling street arguments. What you don't see is the Security Bureau, plainclothesmen who deal with more serious crime. Think of New York or Los Angeles organized into 10 districts, each district into 10 street organizations, each with another 10 lane committees, each with its own 80 or 90 residence groups. Think of a city where housing is crowded but cheap, the average rent less than $4 a month, where medical care and education are virtually free, where there is no unemployment and no income tax. There are no two-car garages either. There are no privately owned cars. And there are no washing machines or freezers or television sets in any of these homes. There are no mortgages or credit cards. And it's true, there is almost no dirt. That roughly is Shanghai today. And this is the way the day begins in this lane or neighborhood at dawn every Thursday morning. The word has come down from district committee to street committee to lane committee to residence group to carry out this summer's public health campaign. It is a group activity, and conformity to the group is an old Chinese idea, going back at least 2,500 years. In a word, Chinese life is organized. By custom and by circumstance, the Chinese is a conservative, an organization man and woman. In a country of mass organizations, the neighborhood is the smallest in Shanghai. More than 3,000 families live here, including the Wu family of number 9, alley 74. Grandmother Wu has lived here practically all her life. Her day begins early. By sunup, she is at the neighborhood market that is already crowded with some of the thousands of people who shop here every day. There is no self-service, no sales, no advertising, no frozen food, and no inflation. Food costs the same everywhere in Shanghai, and almost the same throughout China. Pork costs 50 cents a pound. Fish about 15 cents a piece. Like wages, prices are fixed by the government, and they have been stable for 20 years. Getting fed is a preoccupation in a country where eating is a national pastime, cooking an art, and starvation a recent memory.